if you can make people laugh, people are more engaged to listen, and also they kind of like there's a wall that will drop when you can make someone laugh.
Hey, y'all think Jay-Z's in the Illuminati? Because I used to not think that. And then as I've gotten older, I saw this video where Jay-Z.
My guest today books his gigs around tarpon migration and writes his jokes when he's waist deep in a trout stream. Eeland Stribling is an American comedian who also believes cookie companies are secretly destroying civilization, and he may well be right. We begin with fly fishing, and then with Steve Irwin wrestling the apocalypse, a trajectory nobody asked for, and yet here we are. Season 3 of The Last Salmon is in partnership with Loop, driving change for wild fish and wild places. We're both in the gig industry. We both travel a lot with our work. I always pack a fly rod on the off chance that there's some little river or brook or something where I can go and cast a line. Tell me you do that.
Oh, absolutely. I pack a 4 weight and I pack an 8 weight. So I pack a smaller rod for trout, and then I pack an 8 weight in case I like to fish for carp. So if it's downtown somewhere, I can go fish for some carp, or if it's on the beach or somewhere, I can fish for smaller saltwater fish. So 4 weight and 8 weight wherever I go.
Great. So I'm not the
Yeah,
only one in the world
yeah.
who takes jobs according to where there
Can
might be
I fish?
fish.
Oh yeah, I'm trying to plan a whole tour. My dream is if I could plan a whole tour following like tarpon migration and kind of a little bit of stripers. And then also the Pacific Northwest being able like all the way up to Alaska being able to like fish for salmon or a bunch of big trout or whatever. So that's my even right now I'm planning my fall to be like, okay, if I can be in Montana during like August hopper season, and then maybe I can go to Idaho and try to find some bull trout. So yeah, I plan the whole comedy around it.
I'll be your manager, or
Yes.
I'll carry your kit, man. I think we should call it the tarpon migration tour, or maybe the salmon migration, or the salmonid tour. I don't know whether that would pique much laughter, but it would certainly pique interest. You'll be the only comedian in the space as well who bases his tour around following
Fishing.
migratory fish.
Please, if you see
Great
this,
idea.
I will come to your city and do shows and also invite me to fish. I that's all I
That's a
need.
great idea. That's a great idea.
That's all I need.
How about giving out free tickets if in exchange for some fishing?
I've done it in Asheville. I've done it in Chicago. People are always like, "Hey, come out and I'll take you fishing." I think sometimes people do it to be polite because there's good people out there, and I always take them up on that. And they're like, "Really?" And I'm like, "Yeah, bro, I'm trying to fish." I
Have
think
you
people,
done it? And
absolutely, yeah. I've met strangers in every city who go, hey, I'll take you fishing," and I go, "Okay." And my mom is always like, "Who are you going with?" And I'm like, "I don't know, some guy, he said he has a boat. We're gonna float for a couple hours before the show." And I'm like,
we're going to go somewhere where there's no cell phone
yeah,
reception.
yeah.
Um, he knows the area. I don't
I
know it
do
at
not,
all. It's going to be fine.
but people will be waiting for
but
me. I got a show at 7, so it'll be okay.
But that's true. But having said that, I don't know whether you agree with this. Pretty much everybody that I've met on the riverbank is a good person. I don't think fly fishing is a place where nasty evil souls reside. I think it's too much of a juxtaposition. That kind of what you're doing in the river and where you are. I know that might be a naive thing to say, but it sounds like your experience backs that up. Tell us a little bit about this story that I've read about you when you're on the streets of New York and your first experience of teaching big groups how to fly fish in an urban fly fishing casting pool, and it involved Nike and Drake. Tell me about that story.
Yeah, so
Or
I
Nike. Do we say Nike or Nike?
I think we say Nike. You said Nike, and I was
Well,
like,
let's
"Oh,
go.
that's
Let's go.
cool. That's fun." No, no, we'll call it
We
Nike.
say Nike over here, but I think we get it wrong. Nike,
That
Nike and Drake.
You know what? Nike sounds like a little bit of a slur, and so I was like, "Oh, this is fun. This is a fun
Okay,
podcast to do
let's go
early."
with the slur against the big industry. Nike and Drake. Tell
Yes,
me
Nike
about
and
Nike
Drake.
and Drake.
I woke up one day to an email from a guy who's like production helping it set up, and he just said, "Hey, we're doing an event in New York, and we're looking for someone to teach about fly fishing." And I was like, "Oh, perfect. This is what I do for a bunch of nonprofits, what I do for schools. What are you thinking?" And he was like, "I can't tell you who it is for, but we would love like any advice on how to like set up a casting pond, a fly fishing tutorial in like a very, very like urban downtown setting." And so I kind of gave him tips, and then I was just like, here's what I've done, here's some games I've played, here's ways to like keep people interactive and like move quickly. And then didn't hear anything back. And then a couple weeks later, he was like, "Hey, we would love to have you teach this event, and we're gonna partner with Nike." And I was like, "Oh, that's so cool. I would love to do it." And then maybe like a week or so after that, he called me, so it wasn't on like an email thread, and said, "Hey, the event's actually going to be put on by Drake's company called Nocta, and Nike, and we would love to have you teach fishing. There's going to be like regular influencers there. It's going to be a DJ, and there's a possibility that Drake may show up, but it really is just going to be like a chill event, a chill vibe." And so I wasn't in New York full time or part time at the time, so I flew from Denver to New York, and was yeah, they set up this little alley, like a in between two buildings, and we had the casting pond there. There were like rods and reels, and then there was also like a retail store, so there was like a little bit of a closed section in the
Of
back,
course.
and there was a DJ and a fog machine and all these like fancy drinks, and then people from like, the Bronx of New York, like down real New Yorkers came, and then people who like travel the country and do different events that came, and it was really, really fun. It was like 3 days of that. And then earlier in the day, it was like a lot of kids would come by and get like free stuff, and that was like really, really fun. So yeah, it was one of those things where a lot of times in my life I go, how did I end up here? And that was one of those moments where like, what happened? How in the universe did little Eland end up in the alley in New York teaching people how to cast a fly rod and fly fish? And a lot of the people who would come up would go, "I've never done this before." And I love that. And they were like really excited to try it. And I was like, this is a very different version of what fly fishing is, but that was their introduction into fly fishing. And then I like to think it was enjoyable for a lot of people.
Isn't that a brilliant story? That, as you put it yourself, had you spoken to the young Eeland and said, this time in 20 years, you're going to be teaching people to fly fish on the streets of New York,
Uh,
what would the younger Eeland have said to the older Eeland?
I would have said, "Who are you?" and get away from me.
You weirdo. What are you
Yeah.
doing fly fishing, man?
How do you know who I am? Yeah, I don't think I ever would have believed it. I knew I was going to do something. My name Eland actually means largest African antelope. So my grandfather was a wildlife biologist. So he named me after the an antelope. And that's what I went to school for, was wildlife biology. So I always knew I was going to do something akin to nature or outdoors, or
Something outside.
something outside, and something that's like trying to
Yeah.
help animals or the planet. It's you just kind of let it flow. It just, yeah, I don't know how I got here.
I mean, that's an incredible journey. Excuse the terrible cliche there, but it really is to go from being inspired. I'm guessing by your grandfather, who was
Yeah.
a biologist,
Yes.
to being a biologist yourself. So I would imagine the hope then was to be a professor, to be a doctor, to
Yep.
be out in the field making a difference, and then you take a fork in the road and realize that you're funny, which I know some comedians, that's a big step. That's a big step of confidence to take. Just,
Yeah.
it's one thing your family finding you funny, your friends finding you funny. It's another thing trusting that the rest of the world are going to find you funny, right?
Yeah.
And then banking that you're going to make a life out of it,
Yeah.
which is what you're doing. Tell me a little bit about that junction.
Well, here's the thing. I don't think any of my friends or family think I'm funny.
Oh,
I think it's
maybe
the
we're not at
opposite.
that junction yet.
Yeah. I got a long way to go then. No, I have always been a fan of comedy growing up and stand-up comedy. And um to me, it's like public speaking and especially making people laugh is like a superpower. Since I was a little kid and watching stand-up specials on TV when I was like when I shouldn't, I would, sneak downstairs and turn on HBO and watch like funny movies. And I've always just been a fan of comedy. So I've always wanted to do it or at least try it. And in college, I was having a really tough time, just like with school, with family, and socially. And one day I was sitting at home and I was like, well, something in my life has to change. Like I can't just sit in this whatever this is forever. And the only thing I've always wanted to do, I was like, well, I really want to do stand up. And so if I do it and I make people laugh, I can say I'm a stand-up comedian. I can like say I did my thing. And if I don't make people laugh, then no one is gonna know me tomorrow. Like nothing is gonna change. I'm still gonna have to go to school, have to go to work. And so I did it. I had a really, really good set for my first time. And I got off stage and people were like, "Oh man, you were so funny. How long you been doing it?" Yada yada yada. And then I was like, "Oh, this is my first time." People were like, "What? That's you're so good." And then the next like 4 or 5 weeks of going and doing open mics and shows, I don't think I got one laugh at all. And something about something about the success, seeing the success a little bit, and then all the failures, like really just my brain kind of like activated. And I love that puzzle piece of what did I do wrong? What was the difference between the first crowd and the next crowd? What was was it my cadence? Like, was it the jokes? Was it because I was never like all these things, all these puzzle pieces didn't fit, and I wanted to figure out why. And so then I just became a same way became addicted to fly fishing when I got older was just like all the variables that could, should, or would happen. Like, how do I make them work in my way, or kind of go like find using the stepping stone. So and then I just never stopped.
For those that haven't seen Eeland's content on social media, occasionally you'll find him stood in a beautiful river somewhere in America, I'm guessing, casting his line, and just there's a stream of hilarious consciousness coming out. Some of it's political, some of it's conservation based, and it's the conservation comedy marriage that I want to dig into a little bit here because I'm guessing when you first were at that fork in the road and you went, "Nah, I'm not going to be the scientist. I'm going to be the comedian." Were there any other people in the space that may have been role models for you or aspirational goals to try and aim for? Any other comedians who were using conservation as material?
Not really, because the way I kind of started into the comedy conservation is I started doing like storytelling events and conservation conferences where they would be like, come tell us a story about teaching, about working in wildlife, or about your journey or whatever. And just someone giving me, a 30-minute window to speak, it always became like, yeah, I'm gonna share about my um research with bears, or I'm going to talk about working with students or whatever. But I'm also like, part of me is like, if I can make people laugh, if you can make people laugh, people are more engaged to listen. And also, they kind of like, there's a wall that will drop when you can make someone laugh. And then they're more receptive to ideas or to hear you or to solutions. And so it kind of just like naturally combined itself, or I fell into a space where two things that aren't as different as people would think connected.
So there's a lot of responsibility on the shoulders of a good comedian, I think, and you're a good comedian. Does that ever does that ever sit with you uncomfortably, knowing that if I've got 100, 200, 500, whatever it is, thousands of people in the palm of my hand listening to every word I say, laughing at everything that is funny, I've got a responsibility. I've got some power here to affect change. Does that come into your work at all?
The intent of comedy should be the number one thing is like, is it funny? Like, are you making people laugh? And then after that, it's like, how are you doing that? What's the motive? Because I think a lot of people see things two sides, and my favorite thing about watching comedians is they'll take the two sides and they add a bunch of other levels to it, and then they're like, you can actually look at it this way. I don't like when comics tell me what to do or how to believe or think, but when they go like, oh, here's an idea and let's just rotate it, and you go like, oh, I never thought of that, or something where you go, I've done that my whole life and I've never even thought anyone else had that experience. So, um, yeah, I hope people aren't coming to my shows being like, I'm gonna be a changed man because of Eeland. That's ugh. Your life is gonna be messed up.
I hear you. You're not pious in that respect, and so you like to present both sides of the argument. So with that in mind, and as a fly fisherman and as a conservationist, are you concerned about the environment under this present Trump regime? I know it's a political question, but we all are, and we're not just talking about America here. We are here over in the UK too, but specifically, we know Trump isn't perhaps prioritizing the environment right now. Are you concerned?
Yeah, bro, we're fucked. We, it's like it was not that it wasn't bad before. He is not the single entity of it being bad because it was already on a bad course, but he really put the nitrous in it. He really took it to another level of burn it all down. The billionaires, everyone who is running the government here, the people with the money and the puppet to go with it. So yeah, it's not um yeah, it's not well. I used to work in the Rocky Mountain National Park, and I had friends who like lost their jobs from the National Park Service, and people who have were doing research or were about to do research who lost their grant money because of whatever their research was about. So uh, yeah, it's not looking tight.
It's not looking rosy, is it?
And I'm a hopeful person. I always believe not just in complaining. I'm like, there's solutions to problems and there's ways to figure stuff out. And I'm always looking for like the positive side. And right now I'm like, it's not it's not looking too fun. Like it's gonna have to be very, very bad. And then people are gonna go like, oh no. With just a lot of not only just about climate, just about a lot of stuff. Most stuff.
So we got to hit some. We got to find some rock bottom, haven't we, in order to realize the situation is terrible. You and I know it. A lot of people know, but it seems that there are also a lot of people out there that aren't still yet convinced that the man in charge is bad news. But that said, hearing you and listening to how you get the message across, which is through comedy, through your fishing, through angling, but that's hand in hand with conservation, as we know. I think that's a really, really powerful thing to do. And I think as role models go, we were talking a little bit off air about this dreaded manosphere earlier, weren't we? As role models go, a guy stood in a river making people laugh, but at the same time bringing attention to fly fishing and all the conservation benefits and education that comes off the back of that is a wonderful thing. And you got to keep doing it, man. It's really a valuable and very niche skill. And the way to present problems is what you're doing, and you're doing it in a really incredible way. So keep doing it. And I'll stop blowing smoke up your ass right now.
Yeah,
We'll move on to
yeah.
the next question.
I
But
hated
do I mean it?
it.
I mean it. It's great. It's great. You are. I don't know anybody else that's doing what you're doing. It's fantastic.
That's very kind. Thank you. I appreciate
Okay.
it.
So we're called the Last Salmon, and so far we haven't spoken about salmon, have we? Have you ever tried fly fishing for salmon?
Yes, I fly fish for salmon in New Zealand and in Alaska and in Seattle, Washington. We went to fish for pinks, we fished for chum, um, and that's it. I've never done. I've gone steelheading once. I went and swung for steelhead once. Didn't get anything. I think steelhead fishing is probably the worst form of fishing. I that those people, that community standing in cold rivers all day hoping for a fish to eat on the swing.
That's salmon fishing.
I'm just like, leave those poor fish alone. They're just trying to get some ass like we're all trying to get, and lay eggs. Leave them alone. They're going away.
But we could argue the same for fly fishing, and people increasingly, I mean, for salmon fishing, and people increasingly do for me. They're saying, "What are you doing, meddling with
Yeah.
these poor fish? They're just trying to get some ass, as you say. They're trying to spawn and finish their incredible odyssey, and
Yeah.
you're there at the very end, going,
Just
"Can I just stick my hook in you and have a quick look?" Um, it's a tough one to reconcile some of the time, but on balance, I think anglers are a force for good, and without us, there probably wouldn't be these fish to play with, which is what we're doing, as well as trying to save them. So you've done a fair bit of salmonid fishing, trout fishing. I know you're a big fan of. What would you ever think about coming to Scotland and doing some Atlantic salmon fishing and maybe doing some gigs over here?
Oh, absolutely. That would be like a dream come true. I've always wanted to come to there's a comedian named Jonas who lives in Sweden, and he invited me to come to Sweden and fish. And so I was like, well, maybe I could just stay on that side of the pond and just like go on like a fishing adventure tour. So that, yeah, that would be amazing. And I make fun of salmon fishermen because I think they're bad people. Not salmon fishermen, steelheaders, people who swing for steelhead. I make fun of steelhead fishermen because I think they're bad people. But I do think that in terms of conservation, having people who, especially guides who have been around for a very long time, having people who can accurately be like, there's less fish this year, or they're not seeing as many fish, or they're kind of the on the water like creel survey to like count fish, I think is very, very important, and uh, means a lot. And I do appreciate stillhead people, even though they should be, institutionalized. I am happy that they're out there doing the work they're doing. So um yeah, I would love to come to nowhere. I'm telling you, man, I'll fish anywhere. I'll fish anywhere at any time. It's kind of a bad thing, but I will do it.
Last few questions, Ian. I don't know whether you know, but every time we have a guest on this show, we ask them the same three questions. And the first one is, if you had $1 billion and you had to spend it on salmon conservation, how would you spend that money?
Oh, that is pretty good. If I had $1 billion, um, how?
And do you know what? I'm going to make it. Sorry to interrupt. But I'm going to make it a little bit easier for you because, as you've said, you're not salmon isn't your go-to quarry. So I'm going to say fishing conservation as opposed to salmon conservation.
No, I think the precipice that we set for protecting salmon would the actions will reverberate to all other, types of aquatic life. So I like saying salmon. Okay, how in trouble can I get for this? What's the barometer for what I can do with this
There is
billion
none.
dollar?
Go for
Okay.
your life.
Okay. Okay. I would probably get rid of a bunch of people uh
Like properly
who
get rid.
yeah, who would who are, running data AI centers that are taking up water, and who are buying and privatizing land so that people can't use it and recreate and protect it. So that would be that wouldn't even cost $1 billion. That would be a good portion of the billion, is to get rid of billionaires and a lot of CEOs,
A
and
few
then
hitmen.
a few hitmen, really, really good
Yeah.
ones.
Really good ex sniper guys.
Yeah, and I would look, I would make it inclusive. It'd be men and women, and I would run groups. We could even stream it. We could make some money and stream it and have like a Hunger Games sort of situation.
Like a
Uh,
Jason Bourne interactive computer game.
yeah,
I love
people
it.
could watch and vote. We should have people vote on it. All right, this is getting dark. So that would be
No,
the first part.
it's getting real.
It is getting real, which is dark. That would be the first part, and then probably buying up the using the $1 billion to buy the land or give it back to people who are um original stewards of the land, or people who can take care of it. That seems like the easy thing to do, but I'm also trying to think. Um, there would be a probably a free kids program that we would do so that because our generation is kind of ruined, but I genuinely believe this in my heart that there's kids out there who have the solutions to our problems, but they just haven't had that opportunity to like go do the thing yet. Now, whether that's conservation, whether that's meeting someone from another country or climate change or whatever it looks like, there's a kid out there who has the answer, but he or she hasn't had the opportunity to like go have their spark moment to be like, this is what I want to do, this is what I care about. So if all fishing, river, floating, nature activities would be free for kids so that someone could there would be no barriers to go and enjoy the thing and learn about the thing. And then um I don't know what else.
Well,
Probably
I think it's a good starter for 10. We've got a bunch of snipers taking out the billionaires
yep.
who right now are the barriers to progress in environmentalism, who, as you quite rightly point out, the world of AI, this emerging world of AI, which is literally draining our rivers and raping the environment.
Yes.
We need to control that. We need to stop people prospecting nature and I don't know, build reserves, protect it
Hmm.
is what you're saying. And there's no better way to do that than to take out the greedy assholes that get in the way. And I love the fact that you want to nurture the next generation. You know, on a more serious note, I think that's a great idea, and we're not putting enough emphasis on that. We are not investing enough in the next generation, who, let's face it, we're leaving this mess for. Would there be enough left to blow up social media or those that control it, so the kids can go back outside?
That would be incredible. I tell people if I wasn't a comedian who needed to sell tickets, I would not be on Instagram at all. Like I may have a just Eland's little fishing page, you know, with a couple family friends, and I wouldn't. It would probably be private. If I didn't have social media, if I didn't have to sell tickets, I would not be on Instagram at all. And every day I wake up and I go, I hope Instagram gets taken down today. Like I just hope the whole thing crashes, and we would lose a lot of connectivity to the world, but also I feel like it would I hate social media so much and it does more
I know.
harm than good. But we get to have cool moments like this, but also on the other end of that, it's like it is a terrible place.
And that moves us on to the next question. What would you do if you had no money? How are you going to peddle fly fishing conservation or fishing conservation?
Mm, no money. I would do there's a guy named Jay Johnson who is to arguably to my experience and knowledge probably one of the greatest fly fishing casters of all time. Um his name is J Rock Johnson. He's a crazy man, and he lives as the wind flies, and he's like caught tarpon on Tenkara rods. Like he's a legit man, and he does this thing where he'll like live out of a bus and just drive a bus around and put on fishing clinics and hang out with like punk rock cool like he is very like I don't know, he's kind of a mystic in himself, and kind of a mythical creature. So I would do what J-Rock does and hop in a van with a bunch of fishing rods and just drive and just show up at places and go, hey, does anybody want to learn how to fish and hang out? And then just have some music, fish next to a river or a lake or whatever, and then on to the next place. Almost like like a fable. So I
You
think that's
aren't you
the
doing this already? You're kind of
Yeah,
doing
yeah,
this already,
yeah. And I
just
put
without the bus,
and I have close to no money also, so it is very similar to what's currently
like us
happening.
all. Yeah.
So yeah,
So, but what
that
it
would be
sounds,
the organic way.
the organic way is brilliant, and it's being a mentor, being an inspiration, being a role model for others to fly fish.
Just showing them here's something that you could like you could, and I tell this to all my students or people I've guided where I'm like you know, you don't have to love this. You don't have this doesn't have to be your hobby or start making it your business. But if you take someone fishing or into a certain park or whatever, and then they hear that it's going to be affected or it's going to be damaged or whatever, people will be like, "Oh yeah, I went there once, and I want to make sure it stays the way that I saw it or the way that I enjoyed it." So there is always a connectivity to the water, especially if you start fishing. It changes how people look at it. So.
Final question, and I'm really excited to hear your answer on this one. It's your final day on Earth, and you've got to pick somewhere to fish anywhere in the world for any
Oh
species you
man.
want. Where are you going to go, and who are you going to go with?
Final day on the earth. One and I just I can I ch- this is tough. There's two there's two species. There's one species that I've caught that I really want, and there's another species that I've never caught that I really want. So if I could somehow
Mm-hmm.
spend half my day in one and half my day in the other, I would say I really, really, really want to catch a taiman. I don't know how you would say a
Yeah,
taiman in like
Taman.
Mongolia.
Yep.
Uh, like just a huge taiman. So that would be that, or I want to go just catch like the a 200-pound tarpon. Like I would spend my whole day maybe flying around the Atlantic Ocean with the drone or whatever, looking for migratory fish, looking for like that 200-pound king of the sea. Um, and I would, yeah, I would that I don't know which one though, because I love tarpon. That's my favorite fish in
You
the
can do
world.
both.
Then I
You
would
can do
probably
both.
spend the morning spend the morning in the forest of Mongolia catching huge taimen, and then the afternoon searching for that 200-pound fish. And then who could I fish with? I would probably bring back Steve Irwin, have Steve Irwin come
Oh,
back,
yeah.
um,
Brilliant.
fish with
Am I
him.
right in thinking your first Instagram handle, I heard this somewhere, was the Black Steve Irwin?
Yeah, that was the original. And that was my guy. So it would be him. I would bring my Gramps, uh, fish with my Gramps, and then probably if I could bring a fourth person, probably I feel this is gonna be crazy, but I feel like Denzel Washington. I would bring Denzel Washington
Oh,
to
yeah.
fish. Last day on Earth, I'm like,
Oh,
bro, you're like my TV dad. You're like the world's dad. And if we got into really, if there was any people left and we started to get into any scuffles, I feel like Denzel would be able to protect us. He would know what to do. So, that would be my last day is fishing for taimen and tarpon, and then fishing with Denzel, my Gramps, and Steve Irwin.
I mean, I love that lineup. I do love that lineup. I would worry that Denzel wouldn't get on a plane to Mongolia. Denzel is, after all, as brilliant as he is, he's just an actor, and I worry that he might not want to get his shoes dirty in Mongolia. I could see him maybe casting a line for tarpon in Florida, um, giving a wonderful Shakespeare monologue and imparting wisdom to everybody, including Mr. Irwin, on that riverbank or on that shore. What a wonderful image that one is. That's pretty specific as well. I'd like to see that. I'd like to see that lineup. And I think you could certainly warm them up with one of your comedy acts before they started fishing. Maybe bless the river with something funny.
Yeah.
It's a shame you didn't say salmon, but I'm going to let you off because you said the king of the sea with the tarpon. We are a show about the king of the river, and both those species are equally majestic in their migratory, odysseys.
Yeah,
Both fish deserve huge respect and love, and both fish are being abused, and
yeah,
like most species out there. So I think we'll just about on balance keep you as a friend of the show this
perfect.
once. And maybe you can come back and have a good think about it. So when we ask you the next time what you're fishing for, the answer might be
Maybe
salmon.
salmon.
But honest, we'd love to take you. We'd love to somehow get you salmon fishing. I think that would be a great episode, Eeland, if we could get you on the riverbanks of in Scotland or England or somewhere, sort of very. I'm not going to say quaint, but very. What am I trying to say here? Very antiquated, very ancestral when it comes to the salmon. That would be fun. I
Yeah.
think that'd be a really great. Rustic. I'm getting notes from the producer. Rustic is the word I'm looking for. I don't know whether I'm thinking rustic. It's very rustic where you fish. I'm thinking somewhere where it all came from, somewhere of provenance, like I don't know the chalk streams of near where I live in Hampshire, or the big rivers up in Scotland. Let's make that happen at some point before you die, please.
I would love that. The sooner the better, because we don't know how much time we got left.
We
So
don't know how long. Well, I worry for you Americans, so maybe let's make that happen soon. So the door is always open. The river is always welcoming to you, Eeland. Whenever you're over here, let's make it happen. And we'd love to meet you in the flesh. And equally, if I'm ever over there, if they ever let me back in after this episode, I'd love to come and say hi and meet you in the flesh.
thank you. Appreciate that. I had a really good time. Thanks for having me on, man.
We spent most of this show wringing our hands about rivers and ecosystems, but Eeland's a reminder sometimes saving the planet is just about making people laugh long enough to listen. My thanks to Eeland Stribling, and remember, keeping the fight for our wild salmon.